It does not matter what the controversy or the current event is anymore. Some people on the left as well as the right, though we're calling out people on the right today, make every single thing about Israel and the Jews. It has to be a conspiracy theory. Everything has to be. We could be talking about crime problems in Chicago. We could be talking about economic difficulties in the Bible Belt. All of it has to be because of the Jews, and that is no different with what I'm about to show you today. Candace Owens has gotten even crazier, and Nick Fuentes, of course, has just joined her since he's always been a bad actor. We have literally a mountain of evidence at this point that the shooter who got Charlie Kirk was a leftist who dated a transgender dude, and they were both radicalized by their professors in college. It's very clear. But despite that evidence that we have, these people, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, and people who follow them, have decided that it is a grand conspiracy. And it gets very unhinged, by the way. I'm going to show you all of it. We're going to start with Candace Owens, because I actually think she gets more unhinged, which is crazy to say. Here is Candace Owens explaining that Charlie Kirk was murdered because of his financial problems with the Jews.
And he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman. Because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure.
To be clear, we have zero evidence of this. This is just Candace saying things, acting like a journalist. I've made it very clear on the show before. I'm not a journalist. I'm not. The reason why I say that is because I'm not on the ground getting the information. And when it comes to journalism, there is a degree of expectation from an audience that you're objective. And I'm not objective. I'm a political commentator. I'm telling you my thoughts. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you what I actually believe. But you've got to work it out for yourself if you think it's the truth or not. I'm not going to tell you I have no bias. Candace won't do the same. Candace Owens likes to cosplay as a journalist when in reality, no receipts were provided. That was just a small snippet of like a 2-hour episode where not once does she provide any evidence. All she just said is, I know, just trust me. Just trust me. That's what I say. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who fall for it. All she has to go off of is that she felt pressure once from Israel. She says this because she was invited there. That's what she's going off of. Now, before I get into Charlie Kirk's opinions on Israel, which I'm going to show you, here's the deal with Israel more generally. And I have a little bit of experience of this because I'm also a conservative political commentator, even if I'm on a minuscule scale compared to Candace Owens. They are given grants. Israel is given grants by the United States to buy weapons back from the U.S., right? That's what happens for their military. They're currently at war. They have conflicts going on at pretty much all times because of their neighbors, so they need our support, okay? You can disagree with that. That's fine. I'm just saying that's from their perspective. Now, the leftists hate them in America. We know this. They literally love Hamas more than Israel. That just shows how bad it is. So it is natural that Israel, if they're trying to get money from us, would lobby Republicans and people on the right for that grant. That just makes sense. And so it's also natural that they would want right-wing commentators to like them. That makes perfect sense. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's just incentive. So naturally, they would invite them to Israel to show them that they align with Western values, that they're conservative, etc. That's what Israel is going to do. I know this because I've personally been invited by Israel to go to Israel. I have more details in the coming weeks about that. It's very fascinating. So the question then, is Israel lobbying conservatives? Of course they are. Of course they are. That's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just politics. This idea that Charlie Kirk was blackmailed by Israel or that they killed him is beyond ridiculous. Of course, Charlie Kirk had dealings with Israel from time to time and obviously had dealings with people like Bill Ackman and rich and powerful Jews in the United States. By the way, a lot of Jews that have zero connections to Israel, that yes, they happen to be ethnic Jews, but they have nothing to do with Israel. They've never spoken to Bibi or any other official in Israel for that matter. And I think it actually shows the naivete of Candace Owens, who, again, she's going off this assumption that Bill Ackman and Charlie Kirk had this argument. We don't even know if this is true, but let's assume it's true for a second. People can have arguments. Sure, it's true. But it shows her naivete. She does not realize that Charlie Kirk probably argues with his donors and has tough business, decisions and talks all the time. Only someone who knows nothing about business would possibly think that. Now, to show you the depth of Candace Owens' unhinged nature, because she has gotten so crazy. I mean, this is coming from someone who really liked her. I did a video a few months ago about how I really like Candace Owens, about how she used to be just such a good stalwart for conservatives. She has changed so much. So this is not coming from someone who relishes the fact that she's gotten unhinged, but she has. Here's what she said about those trying to pick up the mantle after losing Charlie.
To those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me, okay? And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages, I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair, okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged.
Okay. I'm sure that can be arranged. It's a very weird thing to say about your own death. Also, it is okay for people to say that they want to pick up the mantle when Charlie, died. To say that they want to pick up where he left off, not a bad thing. She seems to be implying that anybody who goes on a college campus now is just evil because her and Charlie Kirk did it first. There's also some who are trying to actively steal fame from Charlie. That's a different side of it. And there are some people who are doing that in order to bolster their own ratings, and obviously that's wrong. One of these horrible people is Nick Fuentes, which, by the way, is peddling all the same lies that Candace Owens is saying. So ironically, they're kind of on the same side with these things. Nick Fuentes, of course, also believes the Jews are to blame for literally everything. That's all he talks about. Again, you could talk about economics in California. You could talk about immigration, Jews. That's all he talks about. It's all he can talk about because he whines and complains. Here's a video of Fuentes' reaction to Charlie Kirk's death and how he is a great bastion for Christ. But then not 1 month earlier, again, 1 month, not years, 1 month earlier, talking about how Charlie was literally Satan.
We had our disagreements. Where we did agree is that he would go to these college campuses and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that is why he was killed. The gunmen that killed him, they hated him because of his defense of Christian morality. Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian anymore. Sorry, you forfeited that. I do not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer, one more ask me anything, without being protested, without being shouted down, without being interrogated about this. This guy goes around from campus to campus in the most artificial and phony and fake way, talking about, oh, God made me very blessed that I control $500 million. Oh, I'm so blessed. I'm so rich and I'm so blessed. And oh, God's been so good to me. I'm such a Christian. Oh, the Lord, the Lord gave me the Sabbath. I take Saturday off. You sit there and call yourself a Christian and then you make excuses for the genocide of 2 million people? Seriously? You stand there and purport to be an evangelist like Billy Graham? Oh, you're the latest Billy Graham? You're our generation's America's pastor? Why? Because you said the right words? Because you said, God bless, God bless, God bless, my friend. Oh, I rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus. And then you go around from campus to campus making excuses for a famine?
So you can see from those clips, Nick Fuentes is 100% one of those people trying to piggyback off of Charlie Kirk's success and steal his audience. It's very clear, which is laughable, honestly, considering how fake he is. Because, I think when you think of people in America and conservative political commentators, even though I really don't consider Nick Fuentes very conservative, he is the least Christian person I can imagine. That man, if you can even call him a man, really, he's not married. He's got no kids. He's got a gay lover, says horrible slurs repeatedly on his show while purposefully misleading his audience and lying. I can't think of something less Christian than that. He's no Christian. He's no Charlie Kirk, who really was a Christian. Just to be clear, by the way, this is how Charlie Kirk rather felt about Israel. A lot of people are talking that Charlie Kirk, of course, was anti-Israel towards the end of his life. This was him talking about Israel conspiracy theories and people like Nick Fuentes. Here's a video of him talking about them.
Hi, Charlie. As a TPUSA chapter founder and president, I've seen firsthand how the tide is turning among young conservatives. I say, if you truly believe in open debate in the marketplace of ideas, will you ever be willing to debate Nick Fuentes, or will you wait until his movement forces you to adopt his talking points, as we've seen already?
It's funny. I personally do not give a platform to bad faith actors. And I had a whole open about this. And by the way, a really important thing is not to lie and to not bear false testimony. It's fine. I'll answer your question. You said, I want to have a question about Turning Point events. And you obviously lied about your question. Doesn't surprise me because you have deceit. But you know what? Honestly, I'm asked that question all the time. I don't platform trolls. And I don't platform and I don't discuss people or I don't debate with people that are not good faith actors. And
you debate Maoists and people who champion.
They can keep on yelling at how successful we are and our big events and well over 1,000 employees. But there's a lot of jealousy out there. We build, they complain. We succeed, we win. They blame the Jews.
I cannot think of a better way to describe Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens than what he says in that show. They complain, they get famous and rich from lies. The Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens step-by-step guide to fame, very simple, guys, very simple. Fabricate some sort of controversy, some conspiracy, say something just crazy happened. Like this, obviously the crazy thing in the story is that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. But then from that, craft some sort of conspiracy. Obviously for Nick Fuentes, every single time it is the Jews, every time. There's no other conspiracy that exists. Provide zero evidence for that claim. Proceed then to share it all over social media. Pick up all the people who don't actually have critical thinking skills and then several 100,000 bots. That's how you become rich and famous. That's the formula. Before we get back to the news, guys, I wanted to tell you about my new Substack. Substack, if you didn't know, it's a free email, like a newsletter, that comes to your inbox every single Saturday morning where I talk about things I wasn't able to get to on the show. I enjoy writing to you guys. I'm able to interact actually one-on-one in a way I just simply can't do here. So go check it out right now, completely free to you. The link is in the description below. There's a narrative going around right now from some well-meaning people, but mostly very bad actors, that this violence thing that is happening in politics is a both side issue. And that is simply not true. And Greg Gutfeld did a very good job. He was on the show, The Five, on Fox. He ripped into Jessica Tarlov, who is a Democrat, for saying so. It's a little on the long side, this video, but very, very good. Everybody's got to see it. Take a look.
Why is only this happening on the left and not the right? That's all we need to know. There's absolutely no cognitive...
What about Melissa Hortman that we just talked about?
You want to talk about Melissa Hortman? Did you know her name before it happened? None of us did. None of us were spending every single day talking about Mrs. Hortman. I never heard of her until after she died.
She doesn't matter?
Don't play that bullshit with me. You know what I'm saying is there was no demonization, amplification about that woman before she died. It was a specific crime against her by somebody who knew her. The same. Now you could bring up Josh Shapiro, but then you will not bring up, for example, that was a pro-Palestine person. So don't use your, what about this? The fact of the matter is the both sides argument not only doesn't fly, we don't care. We don't care about your both sides argument. That shit is dead. For one thing, there is no cognitive dissonance on our side. On your side, your beliefs do not match reality, so you're coming up with these rationalizations like, what about this or what about that? We're not doing that because we saw it happen. We saw a young, bright man assassinated, and we know who did it. We are not coming up with rationalizations. We are calm, we are honest, and we are resolute. We're not defensive, and I understand the defensiveness. I understand why people are saying, what about this and what about this? Because if you have to face the underlying fact to this, your life is going to fall apart because you're going to realize you're not the good guys. If you sat around and you defended the mutilation of children, you're not the good guys. If you sat 600, 700 cases of harassment against Republicans and you said, but what about this? What about this? And then you see this murder after calling somebody a fascist, you realize maybe I'm not the good guy. That is a hell of a realization to deal with. So therefore, you have to grasp at rationalizations. You don't have to do that, Jessica. They do. I don't believe you're part of that group, but why the hell do you have to mimic and echo that crap to us? He was a patsy. That guy was a patsy. He was under the hypnotic spell of a direct-to-consumer nihilism, the trans cult, and you know that. If you can decide that biology is false, you can agree that murder is okay.
So beyond all the fantastic things he says in there, the last point is incredibly true. The left is a movement of moral relativism. They do not believe in an absolute truth. That is part of their dogma. So why wouldn't murder be justified in some systems? If your reproductive organs, for example, don't even justify your gender, then what is anything? Easily you can justify murder by that same moral logic. On his point of violence being one-sided, he's absolutely right as well. When was the last time, we have to think about this, a mainstream conservative shot someone up? It's never happened. It only happens on the far, far, far right or the mainstream left. And it's people on the left, by the way, who espouse very mainstream leftist views. These are not the fringe people. Luigi Mangione, for example, not a far leftist, but by political standards, yes. But when we look at the Overton window, and we look at where the Democrat Party is, Luigi Mangione, right in the middle, hates all rich people. Rich people can screw themselves. They can die for all they care. Healthcare has to be socialized. All of those beliefs. And it's easy to see because if you look at Democrats, they all love him because he is mainstream for them. Killers are never mainstream on the right. The progressive left is a cult, quite literally. I talk about it in my book, A New Cult. I draw parallels between the left and some crazy cults in our time and talk about some crazy stories that you just can't talk about here on YouTube. So go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Please like the video so other great patriots will see it. And you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.